All right, and we're off on the Bands of Mourning. I really enjoy that the prologue for this one is back to when Wax was a kid, but he had a different name. He has a terrorist name, Anthocinu? What a name! No wonder he changed it, or goes by Wax. I'm assuming Waxilium was his first name, and then he also had a terrorist name. I also forget, I know because he's twin-born, he has, terrorist heritage, but I forget that, his grandma is, the leader of a terrorist community. So, that was pretty wild. Also, so Wax knew from the time that he was a kid that he was twin-born. Since the, rebuilding of the world, do Allomancers no longer need to snap? They just are, and then they know that they can do these things without having to be, beaten within an inch of their life? Ayadashwi was mentioned, which is cool, and also very sad, because she ends up murdered in her kitchen. And also really sad when they mentioned that the grandma asked the community to kind of be friends with Forch, and Wax was like, can you ask them to be friends with me too? Poor guy. But also, Wax was a snitch from the beginning. The cops showed up and they're like, hey, someone's burning shit down and we have a report. And interesting. And Wax was the one that sent the report in? Oh, Wax. Forch killing kids? And he didn't even know why. He's just I don't know, I need to see what's inside. What's going on there? Was he a psychopath? Or is something else happening? Because they did mention, he's a coin shot as well. I don't know what's up with that. I feel like that's important. And then it goes from that to basically the opening of The Incredibles, where the cops are on the crime scene, and then they beat the guy, and it's oh, I gotta get going. Where are you going? I gotta get married today. What? I was all right, Mr. Incredible. Well done, Waxilium. I know it's his character, and I know it's funny, and I did laugh, but it does kind of bum me out a little bit that Wayne didn't go to the wedding. Just a little bit. It's man, I don't know, it just would have been cool if he was there, because, that's his best friend, Interesting enough that Akandra showed up and is hey, I know you get married today, but when you're done, can we talk? Because Harmony is, he's kind of distracted, and we find that to be a little weird. And he's absolutely not, dude. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with any of this. And honestly, I can't blame him. Also, Steris. Steris is a good woman. I like Steris from the moment that she showed up, because I love a woman who is very organized and who plans for things, because my wife is like that, and were it not for her, my life would be chaos and just terrible. And she keeps everything in my life figured out. Very, very Steris. Very Steris. And the fact that she planned for all those things and, the wedding and all this, but the really nice kind of tender moment where she's we don't have to do this if you don't want to. That's really cool. And he's no, it's fine, because, your family spent a lot of money and that's not fair. And she's no, really, it's okay. That's just such a beautiful human moment between the two of them. And I like that. I like that a lot. And then, of course, they go up to the ceremony. Ceremony starts going. Wax looks up, and a water tower just crashes through. I don't think Steris planned for that. I would be very surprised if she planned for that. But, solid opening. I'm interested to see where this goes. Woo, so much has happened. So Wayne was actually behind the water tower falling on Wax's wedding. Interesting move. An even more interesting move, Wayne telling Marcy not to give up on Wax. I don't know how I feel about this. I know in the past videos I've said that I liked the kind of will they won't they between Wax and Marcy. Obviously, the age gap is apparent. For me, what was appealing was the idea that, she obviously had feelings for him, but he was not debating feelings for her. He was debating feelings for himself, as if he'll allow himself to be happy again. And I just thought that was really interesting. But yeah, Wayne was don't give up. We'll see what happens. Oh. Also, we went to school, and I barely graduated high school. So this scene with Vendel, the Khandra, being okay, so we got fortune, investiture, which is a very hard word for me to pronounce, identity, and connection. And from what I understand, investiture is the raw power that is allomancy and feruchemy, right? And that makes the bead that Ellen swallowed to become Mistborn a much bigger deal than I thought. Very interesting. And also, Hoyd took one of those. So what's he doing? The fact that Vendel has Breeze's hands is pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. It's just a funny little detail. He's like, yeah, Breeze said I could have him. And he's like, so technically Wax was like shaking hands with his ancestor. It's so weird, but I like it. And then the picture in the slideshow showed Wax's sister being taken away by a dude. And he was like, oh my god, someone has my sister. But like, we knew that his uncle had his sister because he said it in the last one. So, yeah, was his uncle in the picture? He said like one of those men could have been my uncle. But there was a few of them. So, yeah, what's going on there? Wayne pretending to be Wax is fantastic. And somebody was talking about Wayne and they said, that's Edith's boy? Do I know Edith? Who's Edith? What's that? Huh. I did really like the scene between basically Wayne saying bye to Renette. I really liked that. And he's like, well, you gotta grow up sometime. It's like the second that he found out she had a girlfriend, he's like, oh, okay, well. And then he's like, so, I mean, would both of you wanna? Okay, sorry. Wax and Steris bonding was so cute. And I loved it. It's funny, because, like, when Vin and Elend were getting together, it was very much like kids falling in love. It was just this beautiful thing that was happening. But Wax and Steris, it's like two adults falling in love, And I like it. It's so interesting because Steris is like, I understand that I'm a lot and, just thanks for, sticking with me. And he's like, you are not that bad. And she's like, no, I am. Trust me, I know. And he's like, no, you're really not. And I like that he's pretty much like every time she looks at the ground, he's like picking her chin up and be like, hey, you're actually pretty delightful. And then she's like, also, we're short like, 3 cents. And he's like, what? She's like, you're a detective. Maybe you can find it. And the next thing you know, they're both like sifting through ledgers and like, oh, I found $1. I found $2. I love that. In the broadsheet, they mentioned Kalkis, which are metal beings? What is that about? And Spook ruled for 100 years? That's pretty cool. Imagine like really old Spook. I don't know why, that just makes me happy. And Hemalurgy can create like monsters and like creatures because people are like experimenting with it now. Who's experimenting? Who's doing that? Especially because it's not like widely known, the practice of Hemalurgy. Yeah. Steris having extra vials of metal for Wax is just perfect. It goes back to every video I've ever made. When you have a woman who's on top of things and just knows what's up, they think of things you would never think of, and just, wow. And then these cancel out allomancy grenade things, where did those come from? Who can do that? Who thought of that? And who can make that? I don't like that at all. That's bad. That makes me worried for a lot of reasons. Steris showing up as Wax is on top of the train and sees like a gun barrel coming up, and you're like, who's that? And it's Steris, and she has Renette's shotgun, and he's like, oh no. And she shoots it, clips the bandit, and then shoots herself off of the train, and he has to like go save her. And then he catches her. He's like, I told you to stay put. And she's like, no, you said to stay safe. And I'm fairly certain the safest place is near you. And he's like, you want to go back in? And she's like, yeah. I love this. I do. Just, what a woman. Whew. So much. Wayne being found in the luggage compartment after the gunfight, after all the chaos, hooking up with Milan is hilarious and also perfect. And he's like, I'm moving on. I'm over Renette now, so, And like, how did you not hear? We were just fighting for our lives. And he's like, oh, well, I was kind of busy. Hilarious. Also, leechers are allomancers who can walk up and touch someone and just, like, waste their reserves. Ooh. If I was an allomancer, that would be terrifying. That's worse than the cube. Because someone could just be like, hey, how's it going? You go to shake their hands, and then you're just like, oh no! Yikes. Hoyt showed up again, and he's been drinking cologne, assuming he's not lying, and he threw the coin at Wax, and the coin had, like, an Inquisitor on it, like, with the spiked eye, and, like, what is that? And they're assuming that she was telling the truth. There's only been 3 Crashers, like, ever born? That's wild. And whoever that lady was that was, like, asking Wax, like, you ever tried this while you were doing this? And you ever tried this while you were doing this? Like, she mentioned, like, red shifts and speed bubbles and, like, when you're steel pushing, increasing your weight. And, who was that? I did love when Marisi and Wayne were together, and Wayne's like, no, we gotta do something. And he's, like, cutting up her dress and, like, redoing it like a costume designer. And he's like, hold on, let's do this. And she's like, wow, Wayne, you're actually pretty good at this. And he's like, nah, no reason you can't have fun playing with clothes, and no reason that can't be manly. I love that. I love that. I am still interested about these coins, though. Like, who's making them? And they said that they were used in, like, the black market for, like, buying antiquities and stuff. It's like, okay. Very, very interesting what's going on there. Steris making herself throw up. Listen, Steris very quickly is becoming ride or die. And I love this. She's like, okay, how can I be of use? I have all these different things. She had a gun taped to herself, and she's like, there's a lot of tape you're gonna need. It's gonna take some time. I didn't want it to fall. I tried with the shotgun first, and it did not work. You're like, Steris. She's going so, like, above and beyond to be useful to Wax, and I just think that's so cool. I love that. And it's like, we need a distraction. She goes, okay, I thought we were gonna be poisoned, but now it doesn't look like that's going to happen. You need me to throw up? And he's like, well, not really. And she's like, nope. Love it. Love it. I also love that Vin's statue is amongst the graves of, like, the poor people and stuff, and that every girl grows up, like, idolizing her and wanting to be her. That's so cool. Especially knowing, like, where Vin started, you know, as this just, like, young girl who's getting the shit kicked out of her by her thieving crew, like, leader, to essentially to become a god. And I don't know, I just think that's so cool. Like, good for her. If only she knew. It'd probably make her really uncomfortable, but if she'd known the impact that she would have on people going forward, I just think that's beautiful. And the crew showing up and attacking Wayne and Marisi, and he, like, real quick does a speed bubble and he, like, falls on her. She's like, oh my god, are you hurt? He's like, yeah, I've been shot. And she's like, oh my god. He's like, I've been shot 4 times. That's not good. And then he just keeps eating his sandwich. Gold. And then there's, like, a bunch of guys left, and she's like, do you think you could take them by yourself? And he says, does a guy with no hands have itchy balls? I'm going to start using that. That's pretty good. But again, Steris having a gun taped to her, that's love. That's love. She's speaking Wax's love language here. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And this whole scene with Templeton was a roller coaster, because Templeton's, like, hanging out with his weird taxidermies, and then the fire stops, and I was like, ooh, time bubble. Okay, cool. And then the gravedigger's body falls in, and I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. Wayne, I like the theatrics. And then he looks out the window, and it's Marsh, and I was like, oh shit, it's Marsh. And then he's talking like Marsh, and he's like, you have something of mine, and then he shows, like, the hole in his arm, and he's like, my spike, where's it at? And he tells him where it's at, and I was like, oh shit, that spike belonged to Marsh? That's crazy. And then it cuts to, it was just Wayne. It's just Wayne. He tricked me. That was good. That was a good plan. But he did say that healing from the bullet wounds just now, and then cutting a hole into his arm, because Wayne is all about the commitment to the bit, basically used up his healing metal mines. That shit makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. And now I'm on the chapter where Wax tracked down, he followed what's-her-face, the woman at the party, and she's talking to his uncle. And she's like, hey, like, he's onto us. He goes, yeah, that's just because you suck at your job. Listen, my nephew just start throwing out his old, like, kidnap one of his friends, use one of his, like, old enemies, like, he's gonna fall for it. And Wax is just like, oh, shit. Am I gullible? Huh. It's just wild. I like where it's going. I don't know where it's going, but I like what's happening. I feel like we're building up to some stuff, and that makes me very nervous. But we're going. Hey, Cal, I can absolutely do that. I loved this scene. It was so funny. First off, the fact that Wayne is like, "That's a really nice hat. Can I have it? I'll trade you for it." And she's like, "What?" He goes, "I might need to be an old lady later." And she's like, "What?" And then Steris is like, "Here is what might happen while we're here. We're kind of, chaos in a bottle. Things can go on." She's like, "Koloss army? The animals in the lobby?" She's like, "Listen, we don't know." And at the same time, Milan is like, "How big should my boobs be? What's going on? Also, don't touch my bones. They're very expensive. And my skulls, don't break them." And she's just like, "What is happening?" And then Wax is like, "I might need to jump out of this window." Just, comedy gold. Comedy gold. I can't believe I forgot to talk about it in one of the other videos when I got to that part. It's so good. It's so good. And it's like kind of the perfect encapsulation of everyone's characters, like deep down, It's like when they're not fighting for their lives or in the worst situation possible, they're all so ridiculous, and I just love it. It was such a good scene. Alright, I just finished chapter 21, and a lot has happened since my last update, so let's get into it. First off, we have radios now, or like phone call things, where Ed Warren is talking to I know Kubo. I know. Tell him. Kubo wants to be a part of this one. Oh, hold on. Give me a second. So Ed Warren is talking through a radio and has Calicina murdered, and then has Wax framed, which, by the way, that is the biggest, take the wind out of your sails when you're like, "I got him!" And then he's, on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Wax, how's it going?" Damn. Milan having a giant aluminum body with knife hands? That's awesome. Another great moment is when Wax and Steris are basically flying, and he's like, "Wow, Steris is actually beautiful." And then he starts thinking about Lessie, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to think about Lessie right now. I'm with Steris." Oh. And then this cube/grenade thing, you can, store allomancy in it and, throw it at people? Oof. And then they got this gold metal mine, and Wayne can use it even though it's not his. Stuff's getting crazy. Wayne throwing himself off a cliff and then breaking both of his legs and his shoulder, and then just, what? I mean, he healed all of that pretty much instantly, and it said that the metal mine was still pretty much full, and it would take him months to store that kind of healing. First off, how does it hold that much? And two, who's filling it, and how are they filling it that much? Wayne making up science words is so funny, but even funnier is the other scientist pretending like he knows what he's saying. So good. And they found Telsin. And part of me, because I'm just waiting for shit to hit the fan, I'm like, oh no. Part of me was like, oh, she's gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm not a prisoner. I like it here." But no, she was really happy to see Wax, and ran over to him and hugged him and started crying. And then she's like, "I need a gun to kill these people." I was like, okay, I like this. I like this a lot. I don't like that Marisi got shot. Ooh, and there's a giant ship, and then there was a wall of masks, and they found this guy in a cage, and he's wearing a mask, and he can't really talk to them, and whoa. Now, when Wayne got shot, and then he fell, and they kept shooting him, I audibly was like, "Hey, no!" That worried me. I was very upset. But then Wax got a really cool moment when he's like, "Not my friend," and just jumps out there and starts shooting shit. So cool. And Marisi using the allomantic grenade cube thing and throws it and saves Wax from aluminum bullets. Respect. This guy that was in the cage also has a translator medallion, and he's swapping them out, be like, "Can you understand me? How about now?" But they can understand him? Interesting. Who is this guy? And the ship crashed there, so I'm assuming that these people found the ship and found the people in it and were experimenting on them, and are they the monsters or is it somebody else? But this guy, they take him and they go into the ship, and then he goes to a secret compartment, and there's a shuttle, when you have a spaceship, and there's a little shuttle that comes out, and it's run on allomancy. What is happening? Who are these people? Are they from another planet? Oh man, are we Are we getting people from other planets now? How does this connect? How does this tie in with Edwarn and, like, other stuff happening? And, does Sazed know? And is this connected to, like, Trell? Or, like, what is going on? And there's, like, 50 people out there. So, like, how? Okay, so the Allomantic Grenade is a primer cube that you fill with Allomancy, and then it clicks into the airship and kind of like is a battery, essentially. And while Milan was operating on Marasi, she's like, am I gonna die? And she's like, yeah. But she meant like one day because she's mortal, not because she's gonna die right now from this thing. But also, gross. She's like, had to empty your intestines. Yikes. There were over or close to 100 crew members on Alex's ship? Oof. That was very sad when she saw underneath his mask and he was crying because his friends, and he's like, I'm never going to get home, am I? Because we just don't have the juice to get back, and oh, poor guy. And was Alex saying that the Lord Ruler didn't actually die? And that, like, he did this stuff after he was supposed to have died? But he did die, because we saw him in the cognitive realm with Kelsier, and then he's like, doses. Am I getting confused about that? Also, Alex is saying that the bands of mourning were in this temple, and the Lord Ruler put them there to be like a challenge for Alex people to give them? Why? And then the statue of that dude that had one spiked eye and the spears. What is happening? And Et metal. Et metal is a new metal, and it's what's inside of the cubes. It's what's running the airship as well. But if it comes in contact with water, it explodes? Milan setting off all of the traps. Genius. I mean, if you got a Chondra that's immortal, and you got to do some Indiana Jones level stuff, it's a good ace in the hole to have. And then Edwarn just showed up and, like, gave himself up, and is like, I want to talk to Wax. That is not good. That is not a good thing. Like, this dude is so smart and is so many steps ahead and is, like, building an army. And also, we still haven't found the women that got kidnapped. What is going on with that? And Telsin is like, she's messed up. She just wants to kill them as much as possible. So they did something wrong with her, and she's about to come face to face with him. This is not going to go well. Somebody got to it first? Ooh. I knew there was something up with Telsin. She's a mole, and Edwarn is an Allomancer? And she shot Wax a bunch of times? You can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody. Thank God for that gold metal mine, because Wayne's getting blasted, and then he heals, and he just, like, flips him off as he gets out. Whew. Did they just kill Milan? And Edwarn has spikes in him? That's hilarious. He goes into the pit, and he's, like, bleeding out, and the actual bracers are just underneath. They're right there. Edwarn is listening to Telsin, and Telsin is in charge, and somebody called her Lady Sequence? What is that? Wax, the plan didn't work. You got crushed by your own rocks, dude. The bands were already used up? What? Wayne! Yes! Wait, a second pair of decoy bracers? Wax just died? And Wayne was holding his hand. Oh no. I'm glad that Wax got to talk to Sazed. That was an important conversation that needed to be had. Marisi is the one that taps into him, and she figures it out that it was the spearhead. Oh, love it. She asked me to look after you. That was good. Wayne grabbed a shotgun and started shaking and was like, not anymore, and cocked the shotgun and left. Ooh. Love this high noon duel between Wax and his uncle. He's like, let's settle this the old-fashioned way, right? Take off your bands, and let's do this. And he's like, okay. Wayne killed Telson? Just double tapped her? Milan's still alive, kind of, but she's a mist wraith now. That's sad. Wait, so Maurice saw Wayne, and he's running with a shotgun, and he has 3 spikes? Is he gonna go save Milan and bring her back? Because I love that. Wax using his uncle's basically racism against him is fantastic. He's like, I'm bringing you down with me, dude. And then just punches him in the face and knocks him unconscious. Nice. He did. I love in the midst of a fight, literally fighting for their lives, Wayne is like, I'm going to kill you for killing Wax, and then I'm going to take these spikes and save my girlfriend. Wait. Telson survived? Whoa. Wayne knew that Telson was going to heal. He saw her metal mines, and he was like, I needed Milan's spikes back, and I was pretty mad at her. But I know you wouldn't want me to kill your sister, so. So good. Wax asking Steris to marry him for real. That got me. That was good. Beautiful. So Trell is another god that's beginning to be worshipped more on Scadrial. And is that what the kind of red mist color thing that Sazed was showing Wax on? He's like, I don't know what it is. It's something like keeping the darkness at bay kind of thing. Is it? That's what that is? And the set also have Khandra, and one showed up in Edwarn's cell and was like, hey, good job not snitching for 2 weeks. We realized that we don't need people to be rulers because we're just going to wipe the slate clean. And he's like, what? And it's like, here we go. And just blows them both up. What? The coin that Hoyd gave Wax is actually a copper mind, and it has a memory, and the memory is Kelsier's? What does this mean? And it said that he saw the old woman like in 2 places at once, so that means he saw her from the cognitive realm, right? And he was holding her hands and saying like, survive? Or he was also physically there? Is this from before he died? Or is this after? I don't know. What a ride. What a ride. That was good. That was good. Full review video coming tomorrow, but that was good. I loved this. This was such a cute and like funny layer to add to her character, and she's just the best. And the fact that she's like, I even hired prostitutes so I can like ask them questions, and they just laughed at me. Like, oh, Steris. Oh my god, I feel so much better after this, because basically Sazed was like, hey, she was going to reach like a really bad end. She was sick and like she was going crazy. Did you want her to live like that forever? And he's like, no, that's actually a really good point. So it was more a mercy for Lessie than it was like a flat out accidental murder on Wax's part. And it's like, would you want someone else to just put her down? And he's like, well, no. Like, I feel way better now about Sazed. They're like, it's still really sad and heartbreaking, but it's not as like Sazed was like, well, that's just how it goes. But yeah, much better. All right, let's talk about it. I have officially finished The Bands of Mourning, and this was so interesting. I've finished it last night, this morning-ish, and so I've thought about it all day, and this feels different than the previous 2, and I really liked it. It's funny, thinking back on this, I think about the jokes with Wayne, I think about the stuff with Telson, right? But you know what I think about the most when I think about this book now? These 2. I think about Steris and Wax, and just how cool their relationship evolved, and how Steris kind of came into her own, and how Wax saw Steris, for like who she really is, not just this like arrangement or political agreement that they had. I really enjoyed this book. I really did. I will say that it feels like a build up to the next book, ultimately. Like, some things were explained. A lot of the investiture connection, what was it? Identity and, what was the last one? Like, was it fortune? That stuff is going to take me a while to, like, ingest, you know? Like, I have a basic idea, but not a full understanding, if that makes sense. Very interested in what is going on with the women that were kidnapped, with Trell, with Telsin, how she gets involved in all of this, and the stuff with the coin, and, like, Hoyd. And the fact that Hoyd threw it to Wax, but it was a copper mind with a memory in it, and it was Kelsier's memory? What is that about? The twists and turns in this was really good. The technology advancements was really cool. I mean, we got allomantic grenades. We got airships. That was cool. We got, like, other peoples that nobody knows about. Interesting. That statue of supposed the Lord Ruler, right? With one spike in the eye. But that's also on the coin. The coin had a man with one spike in his eye. But the spear was the Bands of Mourning. So that was its own thing. So, yeah, well, what's going on with that? I loved the relationship between Milan and Wayne. I thought that was great. I'm still kind of freaking out about the fact that, like, hemalurgy spikes are, like, this big. They're little things. I don't know why, when I thought about, like, I guess it makes way more sense now that, like, Marsh had, like, 20 spikes in him. I'm like, man, if this dude is just looking like rebar, that'd be nuts. But if they're, like, a bunch of little ones, that makes more sense. And something crazy that I guess I just never thought about until now because of Edwarn, if you can do hemalurgy through these spikes to anyone, even if they're not an Allomancer, and you can make them an Allomancer, I don't like that at all. I wonder what Telsin's, like, position in all of this is. Because she was telling Edwarn what to do. But at the end, he was, like, in his prison cell, and then that creature, he called it a faceless immortal, which is what they also called the Khandra. Some people did. So assuming that was a Khandra, and he's like, hey, yeah, you know what? We can speed along your plan. But we just realized that we don't need people to rule, which is what you were going to do, so we're just gonna, blow ourselves up. And, like, what? Was that Telsin's idea? Who? Is she the top of the top, or is she working for somebody else? And, like, how does Trell fit into all of this? Because there was stuff that it said, like, there was that plate that Vindel said. He's like, we don't know the language. We have no idea. And they're like, Harmony is kind of busy right now. Like, shit's happening, and we don't know what it is. So, like, another god is, like, trying to mess with Scadrial, and Sazed is just trying to do his best to keep it all together while everything else is like, what's up with that? Because, like, with preservation and ruin, they were like two halves of a whole kind of thing. Like, they, yin and yang, evened each other out, and now Sazed holds both. So it's like, okay. But now other gods from other planets, assuming that that's what's happening, they can start messing with each other? I mean, I guess that makes sense because Adonalsium was, like, one and then split into a bunch. So I guess they could kind of coalesce and, like, have more than one shard, maybe? That sounds dangerous. So that's a thing. The fact that Alec said that the Lord Ruler didn't die, but we know for a fact he did, because secret history, the Lord Ruler showed up in the cognitive realm. So he is dead. So what's that about? And also, like, this stuff just keeps snowballing, because the Lord Ruler was this big bad in the beginning, but he was actually just Rashik, and Rashik, while a piece of shit and a tyrant, he was trying to keep Ruin at bay. But Ruin couldn't do anything without the people that were doing the stuff for him, like Marsh and, everyone else that was doing Ruin's bidding. So what's the big picture here, Very interesting. But overall, I really liked it. I thought it was very good. It felt like a middle chapter, which I guess makes sense, because again, from what I understand, Alloy of Law isn't technically a part of the trilogy, and this is the middle of the three. It feels like a middle chapter of a trilogy. But I thought it was great. I thought there was some amazing character moments. I thought it was really funny, and it had some great twists, and I liked the characters. and I'm just very, very interested to see what is next. Said, I cannot believe I'm on the last book of Era 2. That was fast. So I went to Barnes & Noble today because I had ordered it because they didn't have it in stock. I'd ordered it like 4 days ago. And I was like, oh, I've never ordered a book to be sent in before. So I went there and they were like, oh, it's not here yet. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't have it to switch, but I have the audiobook for The Lost Metal. And I am starting that tonight. I am very, very, very excited. And I will keep you all posted for the last book of Era 2. Ooh!